every cell in your body has its own individual clock, which can be impacted by environmental factors such as light.
Light therapy, what's with the red light, what's with the infrared, what was happening there?
There's studies out there that are showing how incredible this is at healing fractures, bones, helping with things like, even on the extreme side, like cancers. And there's two incredible ways that it's being used. And the first one is that
I found out that there's only one single key performance indicator as far as it goes to physical human health. And that is this one thing. I'm here today with Andy Mant from Australia, and we are in for a very good treat to get some great information happening here to share with you. And I'm very pleased that you are actually tuning in to hear what Andy has to say, because this is going to bring a significant upgrade to your life. Andy's been in the health optimization space and was popular known as biohacking, and is bringing things to the table. So Andy, if we could get a start where you are right now, actually, like where your life is currently and what you're doing in the health space. And then if you can give us a reverse engineer back to where this guy going and how come you're into doing so many amazing things for people, and like a nice snapshot of that so we can get a feel for who you are right out of the gate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great way to start. And right now I'm one of the founders and the CEO of On Charge. So that is a wellness biohacking holistic beauty company that provides wellness technology. So engineered wellness technology that's been optimized using scientific studies, peer-reviewed academia to make the most optimal products to help you recover faster, feel better, live longer, great for longevity. And we're founded out of Australia, but we are very big across the EU, UK, USA. So we're bringing our products to the world, and people have really improved their lives by using them. So it all began for me quite a few years ago. So maybe like 10 years ago, I moved to Australia, and I got quite overweight. I was just eating the wrong things and really not living a very, very healthy life. And I kept doing everything that, the mainstream institutions were telling me to do, eat less, move more, and none of that worked for me. So as part of my wellness journey, I started to go, right, I'm going to take matters into my own hands, and I'm going to really kind of understand myself, what it takes to be healthy. And I read loads of journals, academic studies. I joined forums, talked to like-minded people, and I discovered a specific diet that was really good for me. And I lost a lot of weight, and I got healthier. So I exercised properly, was in the gym, walking, that kind of thing. And I got to this point where I was feeling really good, but I thought to myself, like, I almost felt like I had a superpower now. I thought I can do anything if I can just put my mind to it and research it myself and not rely on anyone else to tell me what I needed to do. So I started to look at other areas in my life I wanted to optimize, and sleep was one of them. So I always slept very, very poorly. I was getting up in the night all the time to use the bathroom, and this was all through my life. And I was like, well, I've gotten healthy finding out what I need to do. Let's see how I can even upgrade even more by improving my sleep. So in these forums, I started to ask a lot of people about sleep, and no one could really help me. And then this one guy came up, this doctor that was really into this subject called biohacking that I'd never heard of. And I was like, what is this? And it's this process where you change your environment or you optimize your biology by doing certain things to make yourself optimal. So it's almost like similar to like ancestral ways of living, so going back that way, but using modern tech to be able to still live in the modern environment and optimize your biology. So I discovered that artificial light, blue light, so this is light from, say, your overhead lighting, your fridge, your smartphones, your TV, this was impacting your sleep. It was telling your body it was daytime, and we can come on to more of that in detail later on in the conversation. But I found that by wearing something called blue light blocking glasses, which are these red lens glasses, that you can improve your sleep by tricking your brain per se into thinking it's nighttime, not daytime, but still watching TV and having your lights on. So I thought to myself, right, I'm going to use these. I used them. It was amazing. My sleep was great. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. And what I found was I had a friend in an optics laboratory, and I was reading the studies for what frequencies of light impact sleep. So then I said to him, look, can you test these glasses and tell me if they're blocking the specific frequencies of light I need to block to optimize my sleep? Long story short, he tested them. They weren't blocking what I thought they would be blocking. They were just a pair off Amazon. So I said to him, well, could you make a lens that blocks 100% of the light that's been shown in peer-reviewed academic studies to disrupt your sleep and melatonin production? And he said, leave it to me. I will try. A couple of weeks passed, a few prototypes, had a look at them. They came back. We tested this new lens and it blocked 100%. Put them into just a standard pair of frames. I put these glasses on a couple of hours before bedtime. I had the best night's sleep I've ever had. And I thought to myself here, like, I wonder if I can help the world with these glasses. So I had 20 pairs made up. I sent them to a load of people that I connected with over my health journey that already knew about circadian rhythms and light and health and biohacking. And I said, look, try these over your regular blue light glasses and tell me what you think. They all came back and said, oh my goodness, you've got something incredible here. This is better than what we've been wearing. You need to start a company. So that was how BonCharge was born. And we were born out of science. We were born out of taking a product that already existed, but making it optimal in relation to the science. And as we progressed through the 4 or 5 years after this, we started to implement ways that we could make products that have light more optimal. So we had light bulbs that don't emit blue light for after dark. We started to release red light therapy, which is great for healing any of the damage that blue light might have caused. We started looking at other EMFs on the EMF spectrum, such as pulsed electromagnetic fields, EMF protection for like 5G, 4G, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. And we just became this, like, our customers just took us in the direction we wanted to be, which is this overall holistic wellness brand that's looking to bring biohacking and longevity to the mainstream by optimizing products that don't restrict us from living our normal modern lives, which is so fantastic. Like, we're having a conversation now over internet, which is amazing. I've never changed that for the world, but our products allow us to do that whilst maintaining a healthy life.
Right. Well, that's really cool. Quite the story and quite the journey. Very interesting how your mind was inspired to, go after that and say, hey, these things are not, they're okay, right? I mean, blue blockers or whatever they want to call them from way back in the day. But take it to the highest level. So what I've learned along the road myself as well is that you can get good things, and then you can get great things, and you can get greater. And then up here somewhere is the greatest level of whatever that's going to be. And, the good, the great, and the greater get in the way of the greatest. And if you set the bar much higher than anybody else, you find out, as you found out, that it actually gets a lot simpler because you're covering so many things at once. And it really doesn't cost more ultimately to go to the greatest level, and you're going to get the maximum benefit on your investment because people invest time and energy and effort. And if they're going to do that, they want to get the maximum return without any shortcuts. So this tech on the lenses, as far as the scientific side, this is very advanced up. What is the cost of a pair of your glasses right now?
They're about $100 to buy.
That's very good pricing. Okay, that's cool. So because you're so far away and on the other side of the world, I haven't had a chance to even deeply explore what you've done. I just knew that you came in with some really, really important information, and because I've been around this stuff for almost 20 years now. My journey started in 2004, and I guess it has been 20 years. But really, the essence, how long did it take for you to start tapping in once you got going and realized that you could actually take responsibility for your health. Was that a little like from the day that it kind of started? How long did it really take to get some traction?
Yeah, it didn't take too long, maybe like 3 months. Once we sort of dialed into who we wanted to have this product and bring it to market. We started with people that understood the subject, because there's a lot of education involved in blue light and red light and anything in that biohacking space. You still say it to this day to a lot of people, and they'll look at you with a blank stare and be like, what is this? So we started small. We started with the biohacking community, and we wanted to dominate that space, become accepted by them, because they were the people that were going out there and educating people on what biohacking was and still is. So within about 3-4 months, we started to see some good sales on the product, because we had so many like-minded people like myself promoting these products and endorsing them. And the thing with biohackers is they will not endorse anything that isn't optimal. Anything that's even 99% optimal, they won't touch it. These guys are the most optimal people on the planet when it comes to health and wellness. So that really was the starting point for us, and really catapulted us into being able to get the message out more to the mainstream population about these technologies.
Right. And I like the fact also that when you got going and you had this discovery and you tapped in with this gentleman supporting you on getting all the different lights blocked that were harmful, there are other lights that are beneficial that you want to come through.
Yes.
And you were able to get it sounds like your company started organically. Did you expect to have a company in this space that early on?
No, absolutely not. No, it came as a shock. I remember it 7 years ago or 6.5 years ago, and it was a few pairs of glasses in my sock drawer at the time. That was where I was keeping them, and selling them on the website. And then it got a little bit bigger, and a couple of years later, I just did it as a side hustle. I had a job at the time, and for a couple of years I did that and just reinvested all the money back into producing new technology, and that was how it really got going. But we've got 2 warehouses now and a team of 30 people. And I had no idea it would become this big. But I guess, once I started getting going with the company and saw the amount of people we were helping and the amount of testimonials that were coming through for, people that were insomniacs for 30 years and then discovered our glasses and were having the best night's sleep they ever had. It was that spurred me on to be like, there's so many people to help here. The healthcare system is broken. Everyone's looking for cures rather than prevention, and I feel that that really spurred me on to really change the landscape of wellness, of health, and be able to provide preventative products that just help people. And once you'll know this from your ventures, once you start helping people, it's infectious. You just want to do more and more of it, and I think that's what kept me going. And it was that passion to really give back and help everyone really with their health and wellness.
Yeah, and it's very inspirational, and I think we're all just getting started in this realm right now because there are so few people who are actually even aware that they can take responsibility for their own health, let alone doing it. And, if you look at numbers, they say there's 8 billion people in the earth. I don't have any idea if that's true or not, but let's just say that there is, right? And just for fun. So you take 1% is 80 million. That's a lot of people, 1%. If you have to serve 80 million people with whatever it is, they're going to spend money on the technology. They're going to spend money on the raw materials they're going to consume. They're going to spend money on repairing their body from the damage that's happened already. It is an astronomical number because if a person is spending $10 a day and you have 1% of the population that you're to serve, do the numbers. What is it? $800 million in sales per day that you have to come up with. That would be a little daunting for 1%.
Yeah.
So we're tapping into a community. Like really, in my world, I woke up one day and realized that everyone around us is so unique. We think that's what the world is like because that's the people we're connecting with. That's the people who we talk to. And they're at a high level of understanding and they're at a high level of ability to support their body's ability to stay healthy and really heal itself, because it's all about the body healing itself. All we're doing is supporting it. That's it. There's no cure, right? The search for the cure, the body cures itself, heals itself. So this is very interesting at the levels. Now, you got into the technology to get the eyes protected, and so that led, like you said, into other areas of light therapy. What's with the red light? What's with the infrared? What was happening there? So where did that come in? How did you find out what the optimal type of lights and how much and those kind of things?
Yeah, it was all just from research, right? Looking at all the studies that have been done on light, and that's what led to the glasses initially. There was very specific literature that was peer-reviewed, multiple studies that were saying that the banding of light that impacts our sleep falls between 400 nanometers and 550 nanometers, blocking 100% between those bandings, which is all of blue light and half of the green light spectrum, will optimize melatonin production. So that was fairly straightforward. Where the lighting came in was we and the scientific community thought until about 6 years ago, up until then, we thought that light only impacted our body clocks, which is located in the center of the brain, through the eyes. So light signals would go through the eyes. That would tell the time of the day, and it would produce hormones in whatever way we needed to be optimal. So wearing the blue light glasses blocks the blue light after sunset, which tells your brain it's dark outside, it's dark inside, even if lights are on, and you can sleep better. But this study came out, which showed that it was looking at sunlight, and it was looking at eating, and it was saying that there was reactions within skin cells at 484 nanometers. Now, when you look at 484 nanometers, that is incredibly pertinent in terms of melatonin production, because what happens is there's certain opsins within the skin that react to different frequencies of light. And it just so happened that melanopsin is 484 nanometers and it reacts with blue light. So it showed, this study, that there was very small circadian clock systems within our skin. So they weren't just in your brain, these body clocks. Every cell in your body has its own individual clock, which can be impacted by environmental factors such as light. So when we were wearing the blue light blocking glasses, this was providing maybe 90% optimization of your sleep, because the other 10% would impact melatonin through the skin, which is exposed to the TV, the smartphone, the overhead lights after sunset. So we were like, well, how do we solve this problem? Because we've gone from having a product that is optimal in its own right, but not optimal in terms of the environment that it's in. So we started to produce lighting that was devoid of two things: blue light, so you could use it after dark and it would illuminate, allow you to see, so you don't have to sit in complete darkness, without impacting melatonin production and sleep. But also we found was in lights at the same time was this flicker. Now, if you video an LED light on your smartphone in slow motion and play it back, you'll see this invisible flicker. And that can cause anything from mild headaches at the end of the spectrum all the way up to photosensitive epilepsy. And people are on varying sort of places on that spectrum. So we managed to reverse engineer a light bulb to remove 100% of the flicker to produce this constant beam of energy, much like an incandescent bulb, but still keep it LED. So we managed to tackle two problems at the same time. And that came in, and that was super popular and still is very, very popular. A lot of people use it, like Rick Rubin, Andrew Huberman uses those products of ours to illuminate their homes at night. Red light therapy then came in as we found that blue light is great during the day. It keeps you alert and awake, and it helps precurse melatonin production later on in the day. But what blue light does, we found in the literature, is it also damages cells in the skin. So if you're staring at a computer all day, if you're on your smartphone, you're going to age your skin a lot faster and cause cellular damage. But blue light's in the sun, right? The sky's blue on a sunny day. So that's amazing. But what the sun does is it contains red light as well in equal frequencies to the blue light, and the red light heals any of the damage the blue light from the sun causes during the day. But what we've done is, with our LED lights with our computers and our phones, in a bid to have energy efficiency, we've removed all the red light, or majority of the red light, and spiked up blue light. So when we're in front of this artificial light rather than the sun, our bodies are getting all this blue light, which is damaging the skin. Yes, it's keeping us alert and awake during the day, but then there's no red light because we're not going outside as much. So we thought, well, let's bring the sun inside, create these medical grade LED red light therapy devices that mimic the red light that's in the sun, that then restores and repairs any of the damage that happens to your skin from the blue light during the day. And the more we dug into this, we found that putting near infrared light, which is an invisible frequency of light, into these red light therapy devices also penetrates deeper into muscles and bones and can help with things like sore muscles, stiff joints. It's like a rabbit hole. Like, as soon as you start going down the light rabbit hole in these studies, you start to uncover more problems. And my brain then just thinks of, well, how can I solve those problems for people? And that's how we got more into blue-free lighting, but also red light therapy as well, off the back of starting with the blue light glasses.
Right. Yeah. Very, very interesting how that every cell has actually its own light plus its own circadian clock, and every cell membrane, right? That's what they call it, the brain, I think, responds differently at different times of the day to different types of stimulation. And in the natural world, if you're out in sunlight in the 12 hours and you got the 12 hours of darkness, the body would work completely different rather than being exposed to what you said. All the technology is a very big deal. The tech is that you can use the tech to your advantage, even like now you're taking a light bulb and being able to put out a really clean signal because there's so much noise. It's really light noise. And if you clean the signal to noise ratio up, you have the light you need to function, but it's helping to heal the body. And instead of the opposite, like back in when we moved into our factory in 2014, I saw all the lights, like, those panels that you get with the fluorescent tubing in it. So I had at that time a light noise detector, and it comes from a company out of Germany. It's a very tiny company, and they're going to always be a tiny company. But it's because of I think their approach to the world is a little bit different. But they have this thing called a light noise detector, and it's around 500 or 600 euros to buy this. And you can point it at any light you want, like a television screen, and it will be like that, like if you point it at that, or the screen will be making a sound like shh. And when you have that sound, that is a healing light. And so I found out that Lithonia has these pans. I replaced every one in the entire, this big office we have. Every single one of them were replaced. So that when you turn the lights on, they're good for you. It's the exact opposite. But you have to know, like you have to be able to measure that stuff. If you go and get a television screen, don't buy the ones that are screaming at you. Because even from the same brand, you walk into the stores and you point it at this one and it's screaming, that one's quiet. It's like, get that one, don't look at the fancy whatever else, the trending stuff. And same with computer screens. And the same with the camera. Like when you put the phone like this, it can tell that camera is either screaming at you, like from the front end, and it's better just to have it covered. If you have to use it for a minute, like say for an hour, if you're going to do a live, that's not going to be that big of a deal. But don't constantly have it there. We put a cover over top of the camera, and it stops that beaming at you. And so this is a big deal. And the fact that the eyes are obviously the biggest portal into messing with us, but the skin is as well. And even for sleeping at night, you don't want a whole bunch of light exposing the skin. Even if you have a mask on and you've worn your glasses at 2 hours ahead, you want to cover your body as well. Make sure it's covered from any kind of interruption. So that takes us from light. What have you done in the realm of sound and pulsed electromagnetic frequency? Because those waves are also pretty intense.
Yeah, absolutely. The PEMF, the pulsed electromagnetic stuff is fascinating. And it's started in the last 2 to 3 years coming really into the mainstream. And, we were chatting just before this, and you're probably one of the first people to try this technology, 15 odd years ago, which is incredible. But, there's two incredible ways that it's being used. And the first one is that, the ones that you've tried before, all that time ago were medical grade. So, this is pulsing electromagnetic frequencies into the human body at various megahertz to solve certain situations. And, there's studies out there that are showing how incredible this is at healing, fractures, bones, helping with things like, even on the extreme side, like cancers, and helping to really repair cells. And what we wanted to do with this technology is because to get that kind of technology at medical grade, you're talking, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's the regulatory issues of actually getting it is very difficult. But it's coming more into the mainstream, and holistic practitioners are utilizing this stuff. So if anyone can find one at medical grade, definitely go and use that. But in terms of what we decided to do is we wanted to make it into more of a wellness product with the PEMF. So we wanted to take frequencies below 30 megahertz, but try and dial into people from more of a productivity, deeper meditation, maybe to assist with sleep by pumping alpha, beta, and delta waves into the brain. And what we found was by doing this and infusing it with, red light therapy, far infrared heat, we could come up with this complete sort of wellness system, but with the main focus being the pulsed electromagnetic frequencies. And what we found was that by trying to intensify people's spiritual practices, sleep, things like stress, anxiety, sort of more minor grade sort of wellness issues, people were really reporting back some incredible things. Like people would be incredibly stressed or have, those feelings of anxiety, and they would dial into specific frequencies on our mat and just feel incredible, relaxed, and really rejuvenated after. People that were having problems with their sleep, even though they tried managing their light hygiene, were still having some issues. By having them on the mat and exposing them to delta waves prior to sleep, maybe an hour, they would sleep better than they were. And some people are even sleeping on these devices, on these PEMF mats to be able to improve their sleep throughout the night. And we found as well that by dialing into around that sort of 7 to 8 megahertz, which is the Schumann resonance, the spin of the earth, the oscillation, people were becoming much more creative. They were being able to meditate, really dialing to their subconscious a lot more. So it was fascinating, even at those sort of lower end megahertz frequencies, what could be done. And the higher up you start going, you get into these 100, 200 megahertz, you're getting into these like incredible healing frequencies that are, really rejuvenating people at this deep cellular level. And there's just, unfortunately, just not enough money and research going into these types of products from a medical standpoint. And I really hope that the medical community wake up and do more experimentation on this, because the results that I'm seeing in the studies out there are unbelievable. It's up there with hyperbaric oxygen therapy that we're seeing a lot at the moment as well. And, these technologies are just so incredible for healing. And, I hate it when, the taxpayers' dollars aren't going into helping with the development of these types of products from a medical grade standpoint, and just being pumped into, medicines and other sort of things just to keep people sick, unfortunately. So that's probably where I stand on the PEMF topic.
Right. Yeah. In the medical world, it's a very interesting world, obviously. And I stay away from it as much as I can. I'm not against it, but I stay away from it because they were unable to help me in my situation, which was life-threatening, where I was going to be taken out between 46 and 49 years old. But that's it's boring, and it's a big turnoff because, and even when it talks to the pulse electromagnetic frequency devices in the medical world, they very well know about this. They do not release it unless you have, say, a bone fracture that's simply not healing normally, where they do the plates and the pins, or they do the casts and the immobilization of that particular part of the body. And if it doesn't heal, they go, oh, well, we'll prescribe you this device that you're going to wear. It has a one-time use. It's going to last you 6 months, and it's expensive, and you wear it, and guess what it is? It's a pulse electromagnetic frequency device. Yeah. And it's gone through the clinical trials to prove that it supports the fractures to heal faster. Well, why don't they just give that out of the gate? Why do they have to be so much? Why would it have an expiry date on it? Like, guys, seriously? So what I found out was that a medical doctor's job and how they're trained is to extend death. Now, people, what do you mean extend death? Well, extend how long it takes to die. Keep the person alive longer under their suffering process. Don't remove the problem, because that's counterproductive to the business. So if you can get them to live longer as they are dying and not removing the problem and giving them more and more treatments and more surgeries and more drugs, that's where the money's made. It's a multi-trillion-dollar, obviously, industry. It's so huge when you do the numbers. Whereas your job and my job in the true wellness industry is to extend life and to remove all of these major problems so that the problems are gone. You don't have any more symptoms. You're not worrying about your genetic expression on this problem or that problem. And what I've learned over this course of this last 20 years, and especially the last 17, 18 years, we're actually just entering our 18th year now as a business. And our business started organically too. Interestingly enough, from raw material that came out of Australia, combined with raw material in Europe, blended together, bottled in Canada, it just took off immediately once people found out the benefits of putting this inside the system, consuming it as a supplement, which is, we call it Oceans Alive, and still do. At any rate, that's another subject. What we're talking about here today is getting into the category of this energy where our body is really mostly light, and we emit light. You take a look at somebody who's old and dying, they have a gray, pasty, death-warmed over look. And all of a sudden, when you start adding these energies into their bodies at that age, they get their youthful glow back. The body is like a battery, and it charges up. And it is seeking that. It needs that. We're being deprived all the time because the so-called modern age we live in. Right. Okay. What we're doing is we're rediscovering the things that have been known for thousands of years that were completely suppressed. A friend of mine, Bob Connolly, you'll be really interested in this. I met him in 2008 at a pulsed electromagnetic frequency convention in Ontario. And he wasn't there for the tech. He was there because he was an audio video guy and had done filming his whole life and was a really, very intelligent guy in this area. And he was there, and I met him, and we started talking, and he's like, "Oh, I think that electromagnetic frequencies are dangerous." I go, "They are, but when you have pulsed electromagnetic frequencies dialed in at a very specific, megahertz and frequency, it's healing to the body." He goes, "Oh, it can't be." So I go, "Okay, well, anyway, you don't want to push people too much, right?" But I had a mat at that time from Europe. And I just took it over to his house because actually we connected and we became friends. I brought it over to his house and I said, all you got to do is just lay on it. So he laid on it for 8 minutes at the lowest setting you could get. The shortest time was 8 minutes and it was the low. I'm like, crank it right up to the highest setting. But it was a subtle energy. You can't feel it per se, right? As you know. And so he laid on it. And during the 8 minutes, he said, it feels like my prostate's buzzing. I go, what are you talking about? I shouldn't be feeling anything. Like normally you don't feel anything on these mats. He goes, no, it's buzzing. Is this thing going to injure me? I said, Bob, no, this stuff has been around in Europe forever. It's going to help you. And anyway, like I've never had this happen before or since, by the way. This is like really weird stuff. And I just said, just stay there because he wanted to turn it off. I said, no, just relax. And then that actually fixed his crazy prostate problem. Like, really? Oh, so that woke him up. That sent him on a course to go all over the world where a woman named Magda Habas, who's literally been teaching at a university level. She's a PhD at Trent University. She's tenured there for decades. And she had the only course on the effects of electromagnetic frequencies and radio frequencies of a negative effect on the human body. And so then she was told about that by Bob. And I'd met Magda before, but I didn't have to know her at that level. And so she goes, Bob, if you're willing to go and travel the world, I will fund you. Because she had resources financially. And he goes, really? Okay. So she paid for all the expenses. He went all over the world for 15 solid years and then brought all that back to him, put together a documentary called Tesla's Medicine. It's currently winning awards all over the place. It was just released in the last, 6 to 8 months. And it's the three document series, 90 minutes each. And it's dealing with all this stuff. So I've got to introduce you to Bob, like right away. This is exciting. And it's bringing awareness to people. So companies like yourself, like Boncharge, is going to be able to then get better access to the educational side, because now we can tap into the highest levels of the quality and the efficacy. And it's affordable. It's super affordable. When you think about when you're investing in yourself and your clients investing in themselves, what the benefits are to them are exponential, because otherwise they're going to, just removing the suffering aspect of the detriments of the human body being affected by all these things that you can reverse is what's that worth? And every 10 years that you're alive, you're becoming exponentially more valuable to the earth because of your wisdom, experience, knowledge, and your application of these things. And we are the most valuable people on the earth right now, when you think about what we can actually provide, and serving even 1% of 1%, right? We have to go into high production mode just to serve 1% of 1% of the population. Right, so 1/80th of 1% is 1 million people. Do you imagine 1 million people drawing on you every single day right now? What that looks like? You crunch the numbers. So I've crunched those numbers because we're in the space of the actual raw materials that absorb the sunlight and got the different frequencies and the colors and, from the therapeutic oils to the detoxification of the body and all those things. So these all tie in. They're all congruent. So it's like beauty from the inside out, health from the inside out, beauty from the outside in, health from the outside in. And tapping into what the really biggest things are in supporting the body's overall function. So when you have your devices applied to the body, putting light in either through the eyes or through the skin, people's awareness of how the body works is, I found, very limited. That nobody's really talking about the fact that your body has 5 liters of blood. That's it. From the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, there's 5 liters of blood. Your body will pump every day 7,200 liters of blood through 10,000 kilometers of cardiovascular tubing, arteries, veins, capillaries. And every single cell in your body is connected with the blood system every 60 seconds. Your entire blood system goes through your entire body every 60 seconds. So when you're putting light here, that's going to go through your whole entire body. When you put the light on a larger area, it's going to be even more amplified. When you're laying on a mat, you're talking about instantaneous transfer of that energy throughout your whole system. Every cell gets to communicate with each other. And so it's profound when you're giving something like that. You're plugging in the wall, you have a battery operated thing, or you're putting on a face mask for beauty, for improving skin health, and getting rid of the blemishes, getting rid of the pores, getting rid of the infected part of things, and getting the usefulness. I love what you're doing. I mean, this is exciting stuff, because you tapped in and stayed focused. You did the research. You didn't just do it like a cursory level. You went deep. And you tapped into research that was already existing, which is essential, because you're not trying to be the guy. You're just going, I just want to find out who the men and women are who have done this study. Let's find out what's the top level info. Let's get the clean signal to noise ratio. Have you done any signal to noise ratio studies at all?
I haven't, no.
Okay, so this applies deeply, and you've organically tapped into it without even realizing it, because in order to get a clean signal, you have to have sophistication on the delivery. So I'll give you an example. A guy I met a long time ago, he was tenured, and he's a PhD biomedical engineer. And he was pulled in a side project from NASA. And NASA, what they wanted was a portable pulse electromagnetic frequency device. And it's like, okay, how do you, portable? What do you mean, it's going to run on a battery? So when they first started, and they told him the frequency spectrums that they were looking for, that they'd done the research on. And he started out with a device that was like this big and had a battery that big, and he was not going to be packing that around all day. And this is back in the dark ages where they didn't have the sophisticated, very tiny, components of like capacitors and resistors and transistors that you can put into a circuit board. And so he had to start out with this archaic stuff that took a lot of force to get it through the circuit board. And the signal to noise ratio was dirty. And a lot of the energy was taken from, by the noise. And so over the years, over a 15-year period, and by the time I met him, he had already completed it. He was down to half the size of a deck of cards and a 9-volt battery, putting out up to 200 Gauss. And through these little copper coils, and you could hear him. You put them up, it goes click, 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 and it had like the square waves and the sawtooth waves, and he had these different programs that would run through. And he told me when he first started the project, he was like, "This is like woo-woo. This is way out there. What's this going to do for the human body, right?" And so when they got it to that point of portability and smallness, it was all based upon clean signal to noise ratio. And they got these mice. Unfortunately, they have to do testing on animals. I'm not for that personally, but they took 2 male mice from the same family. They were very identical, and they were mature. And they cut a 1/4 inch of the femur bone out of one leg on each mouse, and then they put them in a splint in a cast where it couldn't join and it couldn't bend. And they fed them both the same diet exactly. And they took the one mouse and they applied the portable little PEMF copper rings to that leg. And within a few weeks, the bone on that one mouse completely reattached, even though it was held about a 1/4 inch apart, just from the nutrition that it was eating in the PEMF. It completely fixed that bone. It literally reached out to itself and mended it completely. The other mouse, it didn't make any improvement at all. There was zero ability because the bones were not connected. You have to have the bones together to connect, right?
Yeah.
And so nothing grew at all. It needed that stimulus. And when this guy saw that, he was like, "Oh, okay, this is actually real. What more can we do? This is ridiculous." And so then that again, people are discovering as they go that these things actually physically work. It's not woo-woo at all. There's real science behind it. And so you're a researcher researching the researchers.
Yeah.
And so you've been doing it in the other realm. I've been researching the researchers on the physical material stuff that you consume. And so it's like a combination. These are the things that required to be holistic, because we're going across the board. Like, what more can we discover? But it has to be simpler and simpler and simpler, more definitive, more efficacious, right? More effect.
Yeah.
So as far as your clients do you sell directly to consumers or do you sell through distribution?
Yeah, directly to consumers, all from our website, all over the world. So yeah, we distribute here from Australia, but we have very rapid distribution networks, which is epic and set up for imports in all the major countries in the world. So yeah, we've just done it all direct to consumer ourselves.
Yeah, so that is a major answer that I love, because we did exactly the same thing. Like, I watch companies go into the supplement space, which is a dime a dozen these days, and they go up into the hundreds of millions of dollars. And all of them went through like a big distributor to a reseller to the end user, where you get that separation, that buffer zone.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we don't have the funding. We're bootstrapped. We're a tiny family business. We're serving direct. I want to speak directly to people. I want an immediate feedback loop, because we're in a process of, let's see what really works. Because you can get scientific documents that thick on stuff that doesn't work. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can have documents that thick on the things that actually work. And there's the only thing at the end of the day is, does it work or not? Because I don't want to waste people's time, energy, effort, and money unless it's going to have an actual result. So we were in the instant feedback loop. And that allowed us to, like what you've done is like, that's super cool. I'm really happy to hear that. And then people, you get this feedback. And you mentioned Epic. Are you working with Epic?
No, we're not.
Okay. I'll tap you into that. That's an interesting course. You said that, but there's a way to go direct to consumer with certain channels, and you've already tapped into influencer channels, which is really a big thing. But I love the fact that your company's getting that direct feedback loop. You've got your own customer service set up.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. All in-house. Yeah, all here in Australia. Like, yeah, it's real people talking to real people, and the amount of products we've changed and modified based on the feedback we get from our customers has been endless. We're always looking for ways to improve and optimize, and we send out customer surveys. We want to hear from people that are using our products so we can improve them more and more. So it's definitely something we'll continue to do and won't change that model. It's far too important for what we're trying to achieve with optimizing the world, and without that direct access to our consumer, we're just feeling like any other company out there, which is not good for us.
Right, exactly. You have to literally rise above all the noise. That comes back to this concept of the clean signal to noise ratio. So the educational side, the really clean messaging you've got put together, then the delivery side of the equipment itself is taking the least amount of energy with the most definitive, like your nanometers are dialed in. You don't have any other confused signals coming in with that. We learned about that with the vitamin D lights. So you can go to Germany, you can buy the bulbs that will produce UVB, for example. Yeah. And people stand in front of that, and it gets rid of the alopecia, and it gets rid of all the weird stuff, and it puts gets the body to produce its own vitamin D hormone by stimulating the skin. And so we started out, and it was like $4,500 for one of these lights with the proper fused quartz panels in front, right? And so that goes through an iterative process, keeps going, until we found out there was an LED technology that you can place a fused quartz lens on every LED. It's far more effective. Instead of standing for 8 minutes in front of the light, you're down to 2 minutes. Instead of having UVB with a little bit of UVA and UVC, you've got pure UVB. It requires way less power to run it, so less time, now down to 2 minutes. The diffused quartz lens amplifies light energy like we've never seen before. And this is a secret, because without having to put more power through the light, it amplifies what's coming through in a cleaner signal. But it has to be this fused quartz, and that's manufactured. So there's a little bit of a secret that is important, because it applies to all light technology. And so you could amplify that. It's a voltage amplification automatically. You can spark things together and measure it. You can take and measure it with a meter. And so when you go outside, we have a vitamin D meter. You point it at the sun, it's like 350 down in Florida, for example. Then you come in and you point it at this light. It's off the charts. It's more than 2,000. So now you're only spending 2 minutes, and your body's flooding itself with all the vitamin D it wants naturally, which is the best form of it. And that ties into silica inside your system. So silica is your structure. You're going to build stronger structure, stronger bones, stronger muscles, based upon the stimulation of that light frequency being used by the body with the internal components that you now consume. Get some silica into your system, get some diatomaceous earth or whatever. So the world is expanding rapidly. I'd love to explore with you how we can support you on that, like from the internal stuff that's going to work in conjunction with your lights, and just to see how far we can take it, because it takes the least amount of time, energy, and effort and money to do the most maximum thing when you combine everything together. And it gets simpler too. How often, like how long will a device last Like how the glasses, they'll last like for 100 years, right?
Yeah, they'll last for as long as you're careful with them. So yeah, they're a one-time investment unless you sit on them or break them or you
lose
want to upgrade them or drop them down the toilet. These are just some of the feedbacks from customer service. But yeah, like the devices will last a long, long time. Red light therapy devices, if you're using them, it all depends on how long you're using them for. You're going to get at least 10 years use out of a red light therapy device that's mains powered at least. It's all about how you're looking after them. But, even if you got 10 years out of a device that costs $1,000, like at the top end, you're talking $100 a year for unlimited, access to some incredible frequencies of red and near infrared light that have been reviewed in over 4,000 peer-reviewed studies, 400 of them being, double-blind placebo, the gold standard. So, when you put a price on it like that and then compare it to, big pharma's medication that's keeping you sick and but alive for as long as possible, it's a no-brainer that kind of investment to, extend your longevity, but feel good doing it as well, rather than feeling crappy and popping your body full of something that's just basically keeping you in that state, but keeping you alive, prolonging death as you so rightly pointed out. So yeah, it's an investment, and a lot of these products can seem a lot off the bat, but you can't put a price on your health. And when you break it down, it really isn't that expensive to do.
That's right. It is all based upon what people talk about, key performance indicators. So the KPIs, right? We hear it in business, we hear it in all. So I found out that there's only one single key performance indicator as far as it goes to physical human health. And that is this one thing, that your body is getting a little bit healthier every single day that you're alive in every single category. Because you have to cover every category. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. If a link gets weak, that's where you start to get these symptoms and sickness, right? If that link breaks, you're dead. You could have all these other links really healthy, but if a link breaks, you're out of here, because that's the connection to the land of the living. So what you're bringing in is an ability to touch many systems simultaneously, because you're complementing everything that you're already doing. So, if you're into exercise, meditation, good nutrition, good hydration, whatever those things are, bringing the light energy in on the proper spectrums and the pulse electromagnetic frequency energy in, and blocking those harmful things from continually contaminating your energy systems. So stopping that. Those are all amplifying all these other things that people are doing. And I always look for that type of thing, because you want to have the best of the best, what is happening inside, and also you've got to support the body's ability to detoxify, because you're getting fully toxified every single day that you're breathing. People don't talk about what's coming in, which is the particulate matter. People know about smog and indexes and this and that, whatever they put in the media. That's a distraction to the tire dust and the brake dust and all the other nanoparticulate pollutants that you can't see, taste, or smell. But you're breathing 11,000 liters of air a day. So supporting the body's ability energetically to eliminate that, you've got to get that stuff out. You cannot have that stuff building up. If you look at a person between 20 and 60, you see quite a difference, right?
Yeah.
The way they appear, their energy, their functionality is quite different. And in that 40-year period, there's 160 million liters of air breathed in. And that's accumulating. So if you learn when you're 20 how to get the accumulation, you only got 20 years of accumulation. If you don't find out till you're 60, like me, I found out at 64 years old how to get it out. I had breathed all that, and it took me a year of going through a very specific protocol to support my body's ability to get the soot out of it that I've been breathing, that accumulated in my joints, muscles, in every organ, in every cell, because it comes into the lungs and is transferred with the blood. It just completely changed my life. So the earlier that we get to the audiences, the better. A lot of people when they're young, they think they're invisible, like you and I thought, right? In our 20s, they're like, we're going to be here forever, right? Because we feel fantastic. No, wake up, man. I went from 20 to 46 in like a snap, and I'm facing death. And like, what the heck is death doing there? How did that get there?
Yeah.
So what you're doing is extending life with all the benefits of feeling better and better and more functionality. You know, how much better are you now at doing a skill than you were when you were 20? Every year, you're just getting better at your skills, better at business, better at understanding the way the world works, right? So why is it not that way when it comes to health? Why is it that people have accepted the idea that you're going to go on that slow decline starting about 21 and it's going to go at a steeper decline? Look at somebody at 60. They still look actually not bad, right? Not bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look, check in with them at 80. How do they look?
Yeah.
They're usually dead.
Yeah.
Because the average age is 75 to 85.
Yeah.
And they don't look good at 80. Now, they should look better at 80 than they did at 60. That's the truth. And that's what we're tapping into. That's what you're tapping into. So when you're bringing that light energy and that PEMF in with your devices that are super affordable, by the way, and I think if you compare yourself to many of the things that I've gone through this journey of buying some of the most expensive equipment and the subtle energy devices and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on that to just find out what is the truth, what works the very best. And you're coming in at a very, very key time for people to find out about bond charge, because all people have to do is just do the math. Go out and check it out. What are the cost benefit ratios, right? You know, and your job is to bring in the maximum value at the least cost. So you have to, do the least amount of time, energy, effort, and money with the maximum return. And your business has to remain profitable to grow. Everybody knows that every business has to be profitable. Mm-hmm. Any consumer would know that. And what I discovered is that when you take all the profit of the company and put it back into the growth to supply, because you know whose money it is? I woke up one day and it was a revelatory thing, because we accidentally stumbled into this business similar to yourself. And we didn't have marketing, sales, nothing. We were just shipping to some people in California who were really excited about our Oceans Alive product. And we did $2.8 million in sales in the first 24 months. We didn't have a website. We didn't have marketing. I didn't have any certification, I had nothing. I just had knowledge of where to get it and how to combine it. And we were bottling in our basement in little clean rooms that we set up with our kids. And all this money came in, and I was like, whose money is that? I knew it wasn't mine.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a company, so it wasn't the company's money. And then I realized it's actually the people's money who went out and invested in themselves and sent some money to us, trusting us to give them something of greater value than the money. It was far greater value than the money.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, it's their money. Oh, this is the people we're serving. It's their money. They're trusting us with their money. And so let's use that and put it back into research. Let's keep growing. Don't take the money. Of course, you have to, survive. You got to have a safe house to live in. You got to have good, strong vehicles to drive. You got to have good food. You have to have those things that you yourself are going to get stronger and better with. But it's actually their money. And so once you get into the health space like you and I are at, that's where part of the health is financial health. What is money? It's fuel to serve more people. And really, you don't need the big yachts and garages full of Bentleys and Rolls Royces. Are you kidding? Right? Like, this is not what money is for. Money is for serving people. So I'm really excited to have met you. I can feel the vibe totally, resonant with your, because we're out here to serve people, because there's no bigger buzz in life than seeing people get better from things that we've shared with them that we were given,
Yeah.
And
completely agree with that. No, I really appreciate that. Yeah, I feel we have so much in common, and I feel like we're on the same mission. Our values align, and yeah, it's perfect. I definitely feel the energy, and I hope our paths continue to cross, and we can empower each other to just continue serving the world, really, and making it a better, happier, healthier place.
Right. So as far as your mission is concerned, like your vision and mission, where do you see this going from here? In spite of all the insanity that was dumped on us in the last 4 years. Right. Where do you see it going right now? Like, what's your view, or how big do you want to go?
As big as I can. Like we've got plans to help everyone. We really do want to just aim high. We don't want to go to the moon. We want to go to Jupiter, as my management team always say. We want to not stop, and we want to keep scaling, and we want to continue to have every bit of money that comes into our business for those customers that have trusted us with that money. If we've given them something back in terms of better value to improve their health and well-being, we want to take those profits and we want to grow and we want to reach more people and we want to continue spreading that message. So, it's when it's a passion like it is for yourself and it is for me, there is no stopping. It's infectious. As like I said, I just want to continue to scale and become bigger and bigger and help more and more people along the way. So yeah, it's definitely not going to, remain the size it is every year. It's doubling in size, and we'll continue to do that and, reach as many people as we can and help as many people as we can. And that's my purpose. That's why I'm here on this planet right now, is to help as many people as I can before my time finishes, and hopefully leave a legacy that will continue to help people after I'm gone. So that's the core of the mission.
Right. Yeah. You want to be here for your great grandchildren, really, and which is doable. It really is doable because the opposite is what everyone believes, and they manifest that. And I think collaborations are a big thing, because together as people, because you have all your gifts and I have all mine, and then everybody we meet has all theirs, and we keep combining energies, because doing the silos, like living in silos is not the way to go, but combining all this stuff and joining forces and supporting each other, and then supporting the community and getting the education. The knowledge is the number one most important thing, and the definitive, flying above all the noise of all the people trying to make money off people instead of trying to serve people and bring value to them. So it's I'm very, very thankful to have met you, and you're way on the other side of the world from us, but we're totally right there, because scalar energy is instant. Do you have anything with scalar energy in it?
No, but I definitely feel the energies. I'm a very energy person. If I know immediately if someone is vibrating at the frequencies that feel good for me, and I definitely feel it with yourself. And it's hard to find these days that genuineness and that passion that people have to help. So I'm super stoked that we've connected, and it's been an unbelievable conversation, and one we'll have to continue on and into the future as well, and just continue to talk and be connected. That's for sure.
Yeah, and the next, I would like to have multiple conversations and keep each conversation, because this is the general conversation today, to lay a foundation, but then go specifically into each category that you've been discovering and go deeper into that subject matter, how that applies directly. Keeping the conversations really, to the point, and like 15 minutes of just hit that thing and really give, because people have less time because they're getting bombarded so much, right, with all the confusion in the world, and just get right to the points. But I really appreciate your time today, Andy. It's been fabulous, and I love the work you're doing. Want to dive much deeper into it, see where we can support you and get the word out to start with. And then what I found out is that when people engage and actually get a piece of equipment or get the glasses and get them on, that teaches them. That's where the deep learning comes. They go, oh, wow. Okay, I heard that, Andy said this, and this. Now I'm actually experiencing it. Now I know that is, now I know that I know that I know that I know. I'm having deeper, better quality sleep. I'm waking up in the morning feeling fantastically recharged. My body's been in parasympathetic because I took the steps to get me into the rest and digest. I'm just, wow, life-changing stuff. And this is where, then that's, like you said, it's infectious. That's the kind of contagion we want out there, that people are emitting all the information, right? And inspiring each other.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's it. It's positive infection, and the only one we want. We want to spread that, and it's it's so good. And yeah, like I said, I keep saying it, but I'm so glad we've met and had this conversation. And yes, it's been generalist and we've touched upon some very important topics. But yeah, some deeper dives in the future are definitely required.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. So we'll engage that pretty quick. And because people, once they tap in, they're going to want to learn more, like tell me more. And then we can get it published on different platforms. And yeah, that's great. So I really appreciate you investing the time today and, coming on this interview. And so we'll get, this will go out in the very near future. And then we'll just keep in touch. So
amazing.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And everyone who's listening, just tap in. Make sure now, where's the best place for people to go to find you?
Yeah, the website's great. So boncharge.com, people can go on there and read all my articles. They've all been medically reviewed as well for, I guess, what that's worth these days. But they're all, factual stuff out there, all backed up by studies. That's where my passion is in writing. So people can check that out. Not too active on social media. I'm, if people want to listen to some more of my conversations, I've done quite a few summits and quite a few podcasts out there. So there's lots of different subjects I've done. So if they type in Andy Mant and plus podcast, they're all come up on Google. And there's ones I've done on light and fertility, light and health, how to optimize light. I've done talks on EMFs in particular, like 5G, 4G, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. So if there's specific topics out there that people want to dive into and listen to me sort of ramble on about, then yeah, just punch my name plus podcast into Google and there'll be a few really cool episodes there that people can dial into and really sort of upskill themselves in terms of these really important topics when it comes to light, EMF and health.
Yeah, well then the website's cool and the medical studies or the medical peer reviews and those things are very important because they're a validation from that side of it. But the real validation comes when people invest in themselves, apply these principles, get the equipment, and utilize them and implement them into their lifestyle. So that's good. Now, as far as events, do you ever do any events or do you attend live events at all?
Typically I do them virtually. So, like online summits, quite a lot of those. I did the, last 3 or 4 years, I've done the global EMF one, which is huge. There's hundreds of thousands of people attend that one. But yeah, not in person yet, but 2025, I'll definitely be doing a few and a few conferences as well. I've had invites, but I just haven't had the time to really go and do it. It's a long way away from Australia, the US, but yeah, I will be doing it in 25.
Yes. Yeah, cool. All right, very good. So I think that gives us that boncharge.com is the real resource to tap into and check everything out. Beautiful. Absolutely. All right, Andy, well, we're going to wrap it for today and we'll look forward to our next conversation. So thank you everyone for tuning in and thank you again, Andy.
Awesome. Take care, Ian.